Lisa. It is a weekend, so I look like a mess. Okay, so this is going to be like a political theory video, which is not something we usually do, but I mean, old older brother was just us saying whatever was on our mind, because we had to make a video every day. So we'll return to that tradition a little bit. I'm going to be prefacing this two things. One, not really meant to be too big of a moralistic piece here. I am a Democrat, so like that will show through more, but like I'm not trying to make a point. I'm trying to talk about assessing the state of politics. So if you're a Republican and you're angry at this video, it's not for you. You don't have to watch it. My goal isn't to make you upset or convince you of anything. The second thing is, well, okay, so I will be giving an answer to the question of why did the Democrats lose, why did Kamala Harris lose to Donald Trump? And there's going to be a million answers to that out there on the internet, already are, and I think there's going to be thousands of them that are correct. You know, lenses and theories and ideas are all ways to view the world, and none of them will ever capture the whole thing. So this might be right, this might be wrong, this whatever. I'm just throwing another thing out into the world. I'm going to start with my premise, which is strong parties in the United States are the result of times being good. And if times are good, people are more likely to say, I want to let the Democratic Party tell me which people are Democrats, and then I will just vote for them, because the effects that they do in the world are pretty minimal. There are people that are more affected by the decisions our government makes, but I think by and large, when you're thinking of white, middle-class Americans, they're affected very little historically, historically, before Trump. They're affected very little by having a Republican or a Democrat in the White House. And so I think because of that, it's much more of like the parties, we give them more power to decide policy, to pick people. We kind of know who's probably going to win a primary before it starts, all those kind of things. Because we're voting to keep the status quo, and that these people are proving that they'll keep the status quo. And I think in recent times, I think the reason Donald Trump has done so well is because he's about the only politician, he's like the first politician to say, times aren't good. We need radical change. So I think Donald Trump comes in, he kind of takes over the Republican Party, he makes it much more about change, and I think people are responding to that. Maybe they're not as right-wing as Donald Trump, but they're saying Donald Trump is doing change. It is no longer the world where the status quo for the average American is hunky-dory, and we're just like debating over small potatoes, Republican or Democrat. The mistake Democrats, I think, are making right now is they're saying, we're left, Donald Trump is right. You should vote for us because we're different along that axis, but also because Donald Trump is doing a lot of change. And the Democrats, we won't do change. We're chill. We'll keep the status quo going. And I think that comes from a arguably good place, right? They're like, we'd respect the courts and keep Congress having the division of powers, and we're not going to exonerate everyone who commits a crime if they're our buddy and take money from whatever and da-da-da-da. And those are good things. I think the way Democrats are falling short is they're still assuming that the American public wants the hunky-dory power given to the parties, when Donald Trump is showing that people, regardless of left or right-leaning, want things to be changed, to feel like stuff is changing, to feel like the person they elect matters, and that person is working to make the world better for them. And so when I hear a lot of Democrats being like, well, we're still going to pass the budget extension, we're still going to approve appointees, right? I think they're kind of missing the point, because it feels like their pitch is to an American audience that is saying life is good enough that I want to kind of keep on the same trajectory, when by and large American voters have rejected that idea. Voters want change. They want things to no longer be status quo. And Democrats are still pushing, hey, we'll keep the status quo, look at how Donald Trump is upending it. I think we're going to get to a point where the Democratic Party will have to go through its own ugly change, somewhat similar to how the Republican Party changed when Trump kind of hijacked it. And I don't know if that'll be Democratic leadership waking up. I doubt it. Might become from like a changing of the guard, younger people rising up in the party ranks, running in elections, people voting the less status quo-y Democrats in primaries. But I think there's a good chance that in 10 or 20 years we'll be looking back and going, wow, yeah, that was a party mix-up. The Democratic Party of Obama and the Republican Party of Bush is kind of dead and gone, and we'll see the division along different lines. I think that's what's happening now, and I think it's a weird place to be. I think what really happened is the Republican Party, they changed. They got taken over by Trump. He appointed a bunch of his family to leadership positions, and now the party line is all about what Trump wants. But at the end, that's a subversion of the old social contract of keeping things status quo and pushing to we want change. And so yeah, if the longer the Democrats take to follow that, I think, because I'm a Democrat, the worse it'll be. The worse it'll be for Democrats, and I think the country. Yeah, because people aren't going to vote for them because they keep making the wrong sales pitch. They keep reminding people of what they do when what they do is no longer what the people want or arguably what the country needs. So, anyway, Asa, you and our dad are much better at politics than I am, but I figured I'd shoot my shot, and hey, maybe in 15 years we can watch this video and go, yeah, the parties are different. It really is kind of the switcheroo that happens every 50, 100 years. You could tell me the actual time frame. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll see you around.